Hi, and welcome to the Golden Age Report. We're going to be digging a little deeper here into the alliances and world power metrics theories. Today we're going to be looking at the manpower rating. Keep in mind that we're using the Global Firepower Index as our source for our starting metrics, and we're going to add more as we build this out. But these original metrics are derived from the military might, financials, logistical capability, and geography. We're going to also dive in deeper, and we're going to look at leadership, technology, infrastructure, robotics, AI, and manufacturing, and try to include that because we believe that that's going to be very important to the world power metrics. We're going to start by looking at the Russian BRICS alliance. We're reminded by our viewers that BRICS isn't an alliance, and we're aware of that, but we do believe that there's economic warfare taking place, and it appears that the world is aligning in two separate powers. So we'll be looking at it from that perspective. So at the top of the list here, we have Russia, who is world power rank is 3, and their involvement is full. And as far as manpower, we gave them a 3.75 out of 5 stars, and they are considered a world power as far as their manpower rating. And we came up with that with their 1.25 million active military personnel and their 250,000 reserves. And they have a fairly large pool of fit for service. Fit for service is a metric that the Global Firepower Index has come up with, that these are a pool of citizens that could be called up for either active duty or reserves. So they have 46.6 million at their disposal. Also, I wanted to note the recent mobilization that Russia has implemented, and it's estimated that there's 326,000 that were called up. 300 were called up mandatory, and 26,000 volunteers. Also wanted to throw in there that it's estimated that there's 8 to 12,000 deaths, although that's just an estimated number. Belarus is next on our list here, and they are ranked 52 as a world power, and they have 3 out of 5 stars involvement level, which is significant. And their manpower rating they're listed as small, and we gave them 1 out of 5 stars. They have a small active military at 50,000, and the reserves is fairly sizable at 290,000. But it's also worth mentioning that they are known to be against involvement in the war, and their fit for service is also very small at 3.7 million. And next on our list here is Iran, and Iran is ranked 14th, and their level of involvement is also 3 out of 5, significant. And note that their level of involvement is increasing, and their manpower rating is that they're a regional power, and we gave them 3.25 stars, and they have 580,000 active military personnel, along with 350,000 reserves and a pool of 40.4 million. So they're quite sizable. Next on our list is Syria at 47. They are listed as 3 out of 5 stars as far as their involvement, and it's considered significant, although they are fighting in Syria to defend their country. And their manpower rating is below average, and we gave them a 1.5 stars. And they have 100,000 active military personnel and no reserves, and 11.3 million fit for service. Next on the list is North Korea, and their rank is 30, and we gave them a 2 out of 5 stars and their involvement is considered to be notable. And they are also a world power when it comes to manpower rating, as they have a large active military force. And we also gave them a 3.75 stars, and they have 1.2 million active personnel and 500,000 reservists. And they have 5.2 fit for service, so they are pretty close to maxed out when you compare that to other nations as far as military size. Next on our list is a superpower when it comes to manpower rating, and that is China. And they are ranked second as far as their world power rank. And their involvement has still been pretty minor to this point. And we gave them a 5 out of 5 stars. And their active military stands at 2 million. And their reserves is also sizable at 510,000. And their fit for service is absolutely enormous at 619.3 million. Next on our list is Brazil at 10. And they have an involvement level of 0.5. They're just aligned with Russia because they're part of the BRICS. And they are also considered a regional power. We gave them a rating of 3.25, as their active military stands at 360,000, and a whopping 1.34 million reserves, and also a sizable fit for service at 86 million. Next on our list is another superpower when it comes to manpower rating, and that is India. And they have a world power rank of 4, and they are just considered aligned. They are also aligned with the West, although it seems more and more that they're trending in this direction, so we have listed them on this side of the equation for now. And we gave them a 5 out of 5, and they have an active military of 1.45 million with 1.16 million reserves, along with fit for service of 21.2 million. Next on our list is Saudi Arabia, and they are world power rank of 20, and we also listed them as aligned, although you could argue the same as India that they are also aligned with the West. But as we mentioned in our last video, they've had lots of problems with the current administration, and we gave them a manpower rating of above average and 2.5 stars. And they have an active military standing at 220,000 soldiers with no reserves, and fit for service is on the small side with 16.6 million. Next, we're going to look at the Ukraine-NATO alliance, and at the top of the list is Ukraine with a world power rank of 22, and they are fully involved, and their manpower rating is above average at 2.5 stars, and they have 200,000 active, 250,000 reserves, and 15.6 million fit for service. I do want to note that these numbers are since they're actively involved in the war, these numbers are not exactly well known, as it's believed that there's been 105,000 deaths by some estimates. And they also had a recent mobilization, which is at estimated 300 to 500,000 were called up. And also want to note that they are looking at calling up another 100,000 in a draft. So we'll keep you updated on any info that comes up on that. But next on our list is Ukraine at the UK at number 8. And they are majorly involved, as we talked about in our last video. They have an average manpower rating, and we gave them 2 stars. And they have an active military of 190,000 with 37,000 reserves and 24.7 million fit for service. Next is the US, and they are ranked number 1. They are also majorly involved. So I have updated this from our previous look at it is I had only included since the start of the war, but it was pointed out by some of our viewers that they were involved in some pre-war activity, so I have bumped them up to major, and they were involved in the coup d'etat and extensive arming and training prior to the war that started in 2014, and they have a manpower rating of world power, and we gave them 4 out of 5 stars, and they have the biggest military size in the NATO Ukraine alliance, and they have an active military of 1.39 million and 440,000 reserves and 122.3 million fit for service. And I was also reminded that they may be in decline because of this woke movement that's going on within the military. Hopefully we'll have some changes soon so that things will get back to a little bit normal. Next on the list here is Poland, and we have Poland at number 24 with notable plus involvement, so they've been a little bit higher than some of these other countries that have been heavily aligned with the US and Ukraine. We gave them a below average manpower rating at a 1.25, and they have an active standing army at 120,000 with no reserves and a pool of 15.3 million. Next on our list is Germany at 16, and we gave them a notable involvement level of 2, and they have an average sized manpower. We gave them 2 out of 5 stars is their manpower rating, with 180,000 standing military and 15,000 reserves and 24.4 fit for service. Next on our list is France, and we have France at number 7, and they have a notable involvement level and an average manpower rating with a 2.25 stars out of 5 and 210,000 active with 35,000 reserves and 23.6 million fit for service. Next on the list is Italy, and they are ranked 10th, and they have an involvement level that is minor but seems to be trending upwards due to the fact that Maloney is not moving away from involvement in the war, and they have a manpower rating of below average at 1.5, and they have 170,000 active and 20,000 reserves and 22.7 million fit for service. Next on the list is South Korea, and they are ranked 6th, and we have them as just aligned as far as their involvement, and that is from a economic standpoint with the sanctions. They are a regional power as far as their manpower rating, and they are 3 out of 5 stars with an active force of 560,000 and 500,000 reservists and 21.2 million fit for service. Next we have Taiwan at 21, and they are also aligned, and they have an above average manpower rating with 2.25 stars, and they have 170,000 active with a whopping 1.5 million reservists, which is the top out of any nation we're looking at, and they have 1 million fit for service, so they don't have a lot to call up. Next we have Japan, who is ranked number 5, and they are aligned, and they seem to want to not be getting more involved in this war as far as we can tell, and they are a regional power when it comes to manpower, and we give them a 2.5 out of 5 stars, and they have 240,000 active with 60,000 reserves, and they have a fit-for-service pool of 43.4 million civilians. So now let's have a look at these two side by side so we can get a better understanding of how these alliances stack up in manpower. Of the two that are currently using the majority of troops, we have Russia and Ukraine. And note that Russia is not using all their forces because they have to look at this war long term in case they would get invaded later. So they're only using a fraction of their army at this point. And it's thought to be, I believe, around 500,000. So if you notice that the BRICS side, the Russian side, it has a sizable difference in manpower when you're looking at especially China and India, should they become more involved as this war progresses. But we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll take a look at that. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe and pound that like button, and join us on the next episode as we continue to dig in deeper into these metrics.